Hi, this is Mike again. Today I wanted to take time to tell you a little about homeschool pods. What are they and how do they work? Is this an option you should consider? Today my discussion is directed to those families who aren't quite ready to dive into traditional homeschooling and are concerned about their children's lack of social interaction. To address this issue, I wanted to share the idea of homeschooling pods with you. It is also an approach that may fit for families where both parents must work or single-parent families. So what are homeschool pods? They are also known as microschools, pandemic pods, microschool pods, micropods, and copods. Homeschool pods are best described as a small group of students of similar age and grade who group together and plan to study in one specific home, normally using mostly the public school-ascribed standards and curriculum. Certainly, a similar concept can be adapted with other curricula, for example, the Christian curriculum. These pods are not necessarily free and can cost parents a fee that can approach private school tuition. I've seen prices as low as $200 per student a week up to $1,500 per student week. These groups are usually run by one parent, who is able to stay at home, giving the other parents who have to work the ability to do so without much worry. Generally speaking, teachers are being hired to do the teaching. Or in some cases, students are doing virtual school with one parent there to supervise or oversee their learning. Homeschool pods are normally meant to mimic a public school classroom, but for a small group of students. They help provide the social aspect of the classroom, keeping in line with the structure of learning for a specific grade and completing assignments in order to demonstrate what has been learned. Homeschool pods also give concerned parents somewhat of a choice in how their kids learn. For example, some pods are choosing to abide by social distancing mandates with little to no contact with others outside of the group, while some groups incorporate modern networking tools such as Facebook groups, Google Classrooms, and Nextdoor. They also give retired teachers, or those teachers deciding not to return to the classroom, an opportunity to still teach in some capacity. Pods can be hosted in their home and bring parents comfort knowing their child will continue to be taught by an educational professional. Degrees aside though, parents are also finding their willingness to help in this capacity just as important and needed, especially in the case of supervised virtual public school. In the case of a virtual school, all you need is a parent or hired a tutor to supervise the students. What are the pros and cons of homeschool pods? As with any new trendy thing, it can look good on the surface. However, with time and critical thinking, you may begin to see that there are downfalls, which can be expected. When it comes to the pros of homeschool pods, you're looking at a direct supplement to public school education support for your child's education experiences continuing as close to normal as possible help for working parents easily structured as socially distant, if that is desired. And then the cons, can be an expensive option not as beneficial for low-income families, due to their lack of resources not as beneficial for students with learning differences who might require more one-on-one or personal attention. So how do you find a homeschool pod? Many entrepreneurs have stepped up and found ways to capitalize on this unprecedented time in our nation. One such entrepreneur, Alice Locatelli, founder of CoPod, has figured out a way to provide parents with the capabilities to search for local pods. Finding the right pod and group is very important. There are many requirements that may need to be considered including masking, meeting frequency, curriculum, and cost. With her background in education, Alice could see the need of parents desperately looking for an educational supplement for their students. Through her site, you can fill out a form and get immediate results regarding pods in your area. How do you start a homeschool pod? As with the homeschooling community, starting any kind of group-related program, in this case, a homeschool pod, can be started by word of mouth. You can connect with other parents who may wish to pull their kids out of public school or with parents from your church. Micropods are an excellent way for working parents to get their kids out of public school. These pods can be structured with a tutor and online teaching as opposed to a teacher to help reduce the cost. Using parents to teach certain subjects is another way to reduce costs associated with your pod. Once you have developed an interest, it's time to establish a plan that includes the minimum number of children you accept in your group, as well as the ages and grades. Another important decision is where will your group meet? Pods have been held in churches, garages, homes, businesses, and more. To keep the cost down, it is best to find an adequate space that is free. You'll also want to decide how often your pod will meet, and if you want to bring in a teacher to assist with lessons or if the role will be structured using a tutor instead. There are some services available that may have qualified teachers if that is the direction you wish to take. You will have to check your area to see if any services exist to supply local teachers for your pod. Using the teacher approach will normally be more expensive than having a tutor with online teaching. Are homeschool pods considered homeschooling? I know many people will have this question as these homeschool pods evolve, and the answer is maybe. The normal homeschool pods are not and should not ever be considered homeschooling. Instead, they should be identified as a school-at-home option, if they are using the public school curriculum. Why is that? Well, for several important and distinct reasons. For starters, homeschooling has its own set of laws and standards put in place by each individual state. For most states, these laws and standards provide freedom for homeschoolers from the oversight of the public school. These freedoms are hard fought for and sacred to any homeschool family who understands what the pioneers of homeschooling went through to achieve them. Homeschooling is also free from Common Core standards put in place for public school students. While some of the resources can look the same, for example, textbooks, workbooks, science labs, etc., there is still a different type of liberty when it comes to curriculum that can be used. For most homeschool families, the choices in what to teach and how are given solely to the parents. This is a great advantage if you indicate that your pod is a homeschool pod. Normally, homeschooling runs a different course. This is not to say that homeschool pods couldn't turn into homeschooling, because they can. Once parents see that their children are thriving more from the kind of educational experiences homeschool pods offer, they may see that choosing to homeschool would be even more beneficial. So as you can see, homeschool pods may or may not be homeschooling. This depends on the way it is set up. I believe in order to get the best out of homeschool pods, they should be set up as homeschools. Parents should drive the curriculum and they should not teach what is being taught in public school. After all, isn't one of the main reasons parents are pulling their kids out of public school, is because of what is being taught in public school? I can certainly see how these small groups can be used to bring more children home to learn, versus continuing with the school system that seems to want to indoctrinate our kids. Homeschool pods may also be for students who may be at increased risk health-wise. The truth of the matter is that homeschooling itself isn't perfect. There are setbacks, roadblocks, and speed bumps that must be navigated. However, the biggest difference is choosing to take your child's education into your own hands versus leaving it up to a government system to decide what and how to teach your child. When choosing the system, you are initially signing your child's educational rights into the hands of what the government deems as necessary and appropriate to learn. It is for this reason, we often call public schools, government schools. With homeschooling, those rights are shifted back into the parents' hands, where I believe they should be anyways. The homeschool pod option is something families should consider, weigh, and ultimately decide if it's the best decision for their family. For parents who must work and aren't able to stay at home to teach their kids, a homeschool pod is an excellent way to gain control over what your student is taught. If the homeschool pod is the option you choose, go with it. If not, look into other options, and don't stop until you find what's right for you and your family. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this discussion on homeschool pods. This system is an excellent way to take your kids out of public school and have a little better control over what they are learning. Christians should not shy away from this alternative, because they can use this approach to teach their kids from a Christian curriculum instead of using a Common Core-based curriculum. To find out more about homeschooling options, go to our website at nehemiahreset.org, Rumble, or YouTube to watch our other videos on this topic. Thanks for caring for your kids and what they are being taught. I hope to see you the next time on another Nehemiah Reset video.